Welcome to Ultimate Sensei, a chess coaching competition unlike any other. Over the next several weeks, 4 of the world's best trainers will work with 8 hungry students, ready to do whatever it takes to improve their game. Who will work the hardest to improve? Whose methods will prove supreme? And who will become the ultimate sensei?
All right, welcome everyone to the Ultimate Sensei Finals. We are here with all of the coaches, with Jesse Cry, with International Master Kavutsky, and we have our finals match here today. Yesterday we had our semifinals, in which all of the players battled their way through to their final matches today. So we have one match for every player here. I'm going to show those right now. So we had our top bracket here where Kimmy and Mitch worked their way through to the first place match up top right here. So we've got a really dramatic match. Those have been at the top of the power rankings basically all season. So I think this is really highly anticipated, and both of these players have been playing fantastically all season long. We also have a bracket featuring the 4 players who lost their first round match. So we have a second bracket here as well. The final matches today will be for the first place finish, Kimmy versus Mitch, as already mentioned. And then we have a third place match here with Michael versus Max. And then we also have a 5th place match with Rebecca and Jesse, teammates and streamers together on the hashtag chess channel. So they're both teammates in the streaming world as they share a channel, and teammates in this event as they shared a coach as well in Eugene Perelstein. And then our 7th place match here is Frank versus Dylan. So there's a lot on the line. We'll also pull up our prizes list here. The first place team today is going to finish with $800, second place $600, third place $400, fourth place $200. So there's $2,000 in prize money here. But actually, as we bring our coaches and our commissioner and our commentator back, we already know who the ultimate sensei is. The ultimate sensei is going to be David Pruess at this point because his score is locked in, right? Not fully locked in, but at this point, no one can catch him based on these standings. At this moment, there won't be enough shift in the final placements in these matches to knock David off of his perch.
Congrats.
Let's get a round of applause here.
All right.
Hey.
Right.
Yeah.
Congratulations to David. He is the 9-dan sensei, the ultimate sensei. He gets to bump up his coaching rates whenever else he wants to do. Do you have any words of wisdom here to share, David?
For the players today, or for
you can give away
some.
You can give away some of your secrets right now, buddy. I know you were holding back on us. Now you can tell us.
All right, senseis around the world. I did not teach my students 30 moves of Petrov theory for the Blitz tournament. I think that the key to our whole season was our first lesson, in which I tried to make Kimmy and Max become friends. And once they had a friend who was a perfect training partner for them, then even with my computer dead and me not available very much, they were able to just, soar. And so that's been the key to most of my own growth as a player over my career, was when I had like a training partner to work with who was really close to me in like rating, motivation, and interest. And so I tried to create that situation for them, as I have done for lots of my students over my 25 years teaching chess. And I think that at least with Max and Kimmy, it worked well. I think that they've had a really good working relationship for these 6 weeks.
To what extent is the ChessDojo, Kostya, David, Jesse, kind of founded on this same kind of principle of having a community to work with and to improve with?
I mean, Jesse and Kosi are both people who at some point along the way have boosted my own chess. So there's definitely that.
I think actually in this regard, I want to say Kosti and David are the visionaries, and I did not anticipate actually. I didn't understand how it was going to work, even just technologically, how people were going to come together, and that's been to me the one of the miracles of the dojo is that yeah, people are getting together, they're playing games on their own. We're not involved with a lot of it. It's just a platform where people can come hang out and play their games and analyze their games, talk about it with one another. So that's my 2 cents on it. I was a skeptic. I was the skeptic.
All right. To everyone who's hanging out here in the chat, I assume that most people are deeply embedded in the dojo community. I'm sure there are some new people as well. You can get involved in the dojo community. There is the Discord. Obviously, hopefully, if you're watching, you're following the channel, right? But you can get embedded in the dojo community, and you absolutely should follow the channel, check out the Discord. There's all kinds of great opportunities to enjoy chess more and to learn about and improve your chess. We do have our first match up on the board here. Mitch and Kimmy were the first players to start their game. All of the games are going to be going simultaneously, so we also have the other 6 contestants also playing, and we'll switch over to those games as it's relevant. But of course, it makes sense to start here with the match for first place with Mitch and Kimmy. Jesse, how excited are you to see Mitch here in the final?
Oh, well, I knew he was going to be in the final. And yesterday, I didn't want to, be here because I felt like he was becoming too emotionally reliant upon me, and I wanted him to fend for himself a little bit.
Wow.
And I have full confidence that he's going to win today. No problem. And he's done. I like his opening setup a lot. He had a great Twitter post, I think yesterday when he was prepping. He's the master of prep, one of his key advantages. And he quoted Petrosian and said, "If your opponent wants to play the Dutch, then don't try to stop him."
That's the best quote. I love that.
So here we go. And I actually played a very similar system for years as white with colors reversed, and I would have the pawn on b3. And so imagine he's done it in one move to b5. Then I would sometimes go b3 and then b4. I played that a couple times, and I would put the bishop also where Mitch just put it, though I would try to get there before white castle, but you're black, what are you going to do? And I think black's position is pretty basic to play. At some point, play bishop b6, you're going to get a castle, you're going to probably play c5, and it's a lot more, let's call it tenuous, to figure out where white should put her pieces. So already I think Mitch has a nice opening position.
Good thing it doesn't matter.
And actually, it's funny that Kivy is David's student, because one of the many brawls that me and David have had over the years is his love of Federico the F pawn. He played Federico with like the King's Gambit, and he doesn't care. And I think it's a bad move, and especially it's not working out well here. And it's right. It's not like it will determine the game, but we can already say that it's kind of a big deal that Mitch is up on the clock and that he has a better sense of how to put his pieces. And from having played this kind of thing, from both sides, I just know that it's easier for black to play these positions. And a4, let's say mild controversy with a4, just because that is going to be black's strong side of the board over there. So she is making some weaknesses on the queen side.
Yeah, but I think very often in these kind of positions, whether it be King's Indian defense or Dutch or bird or whatever, like you often see an a5 move get played on the weak side just so the rook can sort of be a little more active and defend a little bit. So it's not a move that I would really criticize from her. Okay,
yeah. And you can see with this last move, b3, that there's some confusion as to where white wants to put the pieces. Often I would say e4 is the more typical plan. And I'm sure she can do this, b3 and bishop b2, but I think Mitch will probably play c5 fairly quickly, and then there's going to be questions about c4. And it's just much easier for black to play the position.
Is knight g4 a possibility?
At some point, yeah. Especially after bishop b2 is played, knight g4 is going to be a thought.
Yeah.
Is this a position that's likely to go into a stonewall by extending d4?
There's two options. Like when black plays knight g4, white might plop a piece on d4 and just lose a tempo to c5 from black. Or white might switch to a stonewall.
He's thinking about it too. Otherwise, yeah. If you were on autopilot, you just play c5. But now he's thinking about the knight g4 move.
I like knight g4 because I think knight d4
just c5, right?
By c5, which helps black.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rook a7. That was what he was thinking about.
Whoa.
That's I would never predict. Yeah.
A move that very few of us could see coming.
If the bishop didn't have c5, then a5 would trap the bishop, kind of funnily. That seems.
This is the honest reason I wasn't here yesterday, guys. I couldn't bear to watch Mitch play 7. It's too painful for a guy that's like I'm trying to be on his side. I'm trying to he's inspirational to me. He's trying to make master and this, that, and the other thing. And then you play a move like Rook A7 and it just takes a lot of wind out of my sails, Just hurts me real bad.
I might even consider b4 here for white, even though I know Jesse said it's not really white's side of the board. But b4, with the idea of putting the knight on b3, white might be able to sort of handle both sides of the board in that position.
Well, h3. So that's so obviously white is concerned about knight g4.
Yeah, h3 is okay. I just, honestly, Rook A7 doesn't destroy us or anything, but it's so ugly. It is so gross.
It's like the ready setup. I feel like when I was a student at one point, I read a book by Schiller, a mistake that
a mistake,
tragic mistake, and he introduced the ready. And I was like, I'd never played a tournament or anything. It was just like, oh, this is a new concept, the ready, so cool. And he showed a setup with Queen A8 and Rook A7 and Bishop B7, just like this. And I was like, this is amazing. I want to do this all the time, but I've yet to find an example of it being good. Probably not even the example he gave in the book, which I don't remember at this point.
I think actually this is Kostya's fault because maybe in the back of his mind, we did a structure on Sunday Night Fights. I think it was against the London set up against the King's Indian, and we looked at a position where the pawn is on b6. Which makes and it was a question. The problem was, where does black put the queen? And that happens in a lot of situations. In this position, I don't think black had any problems about where to find a place to put the queen. But I have a feeling that was somehow in the back of his mind when he did this.
No, I think Mitch already pulled this ready maneuver in the ready game. So here he's trying to recreate it, but it's not quite the same. White can go a5 even and just put down the bishop in the a file.
Yeah, I'm worried that black is moving all his pieces to the wrong side of the board and leaving his king unprotected.
Yeah,
that's a very valid point. I actually thought instead of knight e5, maybe think about g4, queen h4, g5.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
That certainly seems like it would be in Kimmy's style from what we've seen so far. She's had some of the sharpest games all event.
Yeah, the lady hasn't left her man, and the rook on a7 doesn't know what it's doing over there.
There's
no idea.
Oh, they're all getting trapped in there.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, man, this is just like abandoning the man.
I mean, to make it complete, there's also a move knight b8, so...
I mean, by now you got to say the stonewall's looking better and better for white, right? That when you can play a5, d4, and then everybody from black stays on the queen side.
Right.
It's just a question of where we can put the knight on f6. I don't know, maybe somehow we can get it to a5.
Well, I think now we need to take away Mitch's rating points for his opening preparation. preparation.
That's right. Yeah. And we didn't even comment on H6, but H6 not the greatest idea because I think Kimmy could have played G4, G5 even faster. And Queen E2 maybe is inaccurate, but fine. As long as she goes for G4, G5 in the coming moments, she's going to be, I think, strategically winning.
When she first played H3, I was like, I hope to God she's not about to rush the G pawn. But once he played H6, I winced. When I saw that move. Because now it's like you're begging for G4, G5.
Does feel like G4 should have been played on the last move. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like it was begging to be played. Yeah.
It was good coming to G4.
I think Kimmy is slightly losing here the momentum because with all of those pieces stuck at the queen side, G4 felt so logical, especially with the pawn on H6. So after Queen E2, I'm not so sure. I mean, White is definitely better, but already not so much.
Let's take just a moment to kind of look into the other games while the tension continues to build here. Just get a sense of where everyone's at. So we've got Dylan here versus Chess Coach Net. This is the 7th place match. I've just switched over to this. This is, wow, sharp. So Black just played Knight F3, hitting the rook on G1, but there's all kinds of chaos here on G6 in this game.
Yeah, Bishop takes G6, right?
Bishop G6 looks really strong. Yeah.
That's lights out.
It looks like this is
Oh, nice. You found it.
I think this is the Gingy variation, right?
It looks like it, yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
Eugene? This is the Gingy variation.
Before that,
what did Black do wrong?
Before that, I
King
mean, there was a very strange exchange sacrifice, which for some reason worked. If we check it, the 13th move, Frank sacrificed exchange on F3, G takes, Knight G5. I don't think this should work. Should White even simply play Bishop E2 and there's no Bishop F5 incoming? Instead, Dylan returned the favor. He took on E5, and now suddenly Black has some compensation after King E2, Bishop D7. Yeah, and after Rook F8, H5, Knight F3. That's a big blunder, I think. You have to watch out for the Bishop takes on G6. So have to be slightly more careful.
Well, let's look also at some of the other games. King H8 played. So the king's trying to hide out. And then the other games include the match between #chess here, at which the king is kind of surprisingly on G1. Oh, I need to refresh. There are some new moves that are in here. Okay.
Well, the thing is, this is our preparation for Max that that Rebecca walked into. So Jesse, as Black, played the Fort Knox. That was our secret weapon.
Wow, brutal. She played her prep in a game that, like, the standings don't
doesn't
matter
yeah.
against her own teammate. Just ruthless.
And the Fort
Well,
Knox
she wanted to
those...
demonstrate to everyone that I did my job as a coach.
And the Fort Knox variation is this Bishop D7, C6, just for everyone who's in the chat.
Eugene, you were the only one who didn't have to think about team bonding, right? I mean, David was telling how it was so important for the team to bond together, and I imagine.
That's right.
Yeah, for you it was already easy.
And it looks like on move 13, Black was able to win this piece after White got tactical with Knight takes G5, which happened on move 11 here in this position. I know that the coaches aren't seeing the same position because I backed up a few moves, but the audience can see the position here on move 11. And obviously the live position is outstanding for Jessie, so her prep worked out monstrously.
Yeah.
And the last game that we haven't gotten a chance to check in on yet is Chess Gains here, Max versus Ponziani Master Michael. And the live position, let me make sure I got all the up-to-date moves. Here just features a capture on C3 from Black. And it looks like Black is up a piece, but White is able to possibly capture on G6 at some point, but it's not going to work because of checks.
Maybe pawn takes C3.
Okay. David suggesting pawn takes C3 in the position.
Yeah, so this is the third place match, so also very important for the standings. And yeah, really, really messy.
And I was completely wrong when I said that black is up a piece. Well, black is up a piece at the moment because black just captured. But I couldn't see the knight on b8. I have like a camera view that was covering the knight on b8, so I apologize for that.
Well, I guess Michael was surprised with this move, queen g4, right? Because this is definitely, I mean, bishop d2, d6, and queen g4. I don't think this is the main line, is it?
No, definitely not.
At least I don't recognize, because Michael has been working himself on some French lately. He said he was inspired by, who was it, Anish Giri, I think. Although I think Anish Giri is more of a Sicilian player. And we were talking about his future and on which openings he should work on. Like he said, he was looking more for a dynamic play. And I suggested him perhaps to have a look at King's Indian, Cecilia Najdorf, Granfeld, and Benoni. And he, by the way, already plays Benoni. And French, I mean, yeah, depending how it will go. So he really likes, apparently, these structures. And I guess Max was ready. Like, he prepared a surprise.
I think we.
Yeah, there's a well-known line that
G4s.
white plays a3 first, right, and then queen g4.
Mm-hmm.
I should say with Anish, he's been streaming all this French prep recently, so I think that's the reference.
Right. Yeah. Now that you
Yeah,
mention,
he did the Chessable course on the French.
And in the live position, the rook was just captured on g6.
Which, at least the smart money is going to guess that's probably a mistake.
that's wrong. On
Now,
so many levels.
I
I mean, just bishop d2, h takes. There's no attack for white,
or even F takes, it's nothing.
or even f takes, right? I mean, b takes had to be played on some messy position.
Yeah.
Okay, but
And-
maybe I'm wrong.
And black is thinking about bishop b2, which might also work, but it's more dangerous than probably needs to happen.
Yeah, I would guess that bishop b2 also wins pretty darn easily. It just feels slightly more complicated.
Yeah, why mess with it? Don't mess with
Yeah,
it.
but me and Michael, we had a talk about this, about the control, to be able to control things. And one of the things I said was, if you are feeling in control, that you have a big advantage, or you feel, at least you feel, not understand that you have a big advantage. You want to simplify, you want to clarify the position. And I think this is one of the moments. So if black understands that after bishop takes on d2, he should be having a huge advantage, why venture into bishop takes on b2? So that's just a risk.
Right.
So I hope he'll make the right decision.
So I'm going to jump back to the top game again here with Mitch and Kimmy get to the live position. And so a lot has happened as we checked in on the other games. And white at this point, Kimmy has almost an equivalent cluster on the king side of pieces as to what Mitch had on the queen side earlier. But of course, a king side cluster can be a bit more threatening than a queen side cluster over here.
Starting to look very puzzle rushy.
Yeah.
Does she have a nice threat here? We'll find out.
Knight
Because
c5 would.
I thought the threat was rook f6.
Rook f6 I was going to suggest.
F6.
Yeah,
So
this
Yeah.
invites rook f6.
I should make rook f6.
And
Oh,
it's
she
a
played it
This is piece of
instantly.
cake, guys, given how well she's been solving tactics.
Dang. And you know what? On that last move, I was thinking maybe Mitch could have gotten away with the trick f5. Let's call it the en passant trick. I thought that was his last chance, honestly, because rook f6 is the Fischer move against Benko, which ends the world.
Yeah.
That's all the way over.
Seems like that was the idea with queen e8. Not sure what happened.
Yeah, it would seem like that was the idea, right? That's the old-fashioned trick.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, that's been used
Oh, look
against
at
me
this.
to diffuse many an attack.
Very, very beautiful. Kimmy's been maybe the most tactically on point player throughout this event. I don't know if the coaches would disagree with that, but
Jesse and people. Knight h4, f5, pawn takes f6 en passant.
and that's actually resignation on the board here, and we'll jump over there to
Pawn takes g7 check.
look at the Jesse
King,
game.
h7, rook takes rook on f8, and the knight can't recapture because you're queening on g8 with mate.
Sorry, David, which line is
We
that?
should show that.
Yeah, they should show it. It's a pretty good line.
What is the line? I'm sorry, I missed it because I thought you
So
were
go
talking
back.
about Jesse February's game. To be honest, I got super confused. Sorry, you were
Go
saying.
back a couple moves in Mitch's
25
game.
knight h4 and then f5.
Okay, knight h4, f5 here, and then after f5 on move 25.
Yeah, you would just take it en passant with the pawn, leaving the queen hanging.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are we? How sure are we though? Okay, so go ahead and do it. EF, Queen H5.
Sorry, they just started their next game and it jumped over to that. I'll get back to that game. It'll just take me a moment though.
King H7. Oh, and then takes, and then Rook F7 in between move. David, you're right. Yeah, deadly.
Yeah, but the queen is on h5, so I'm not so sure if it works.
I'm not either.
I've gone back, but I don't think I have the ability to enter variations, so I may not be able to illustrate this whole concept. I had it on the board right before they switched over to the new game, but
just do it with arrows. Just do it with arrows. Okay. So go F5, EF, Queen H5, FG, King H7, GF, Knight takes, and then let's call that our critical position. Who's winning and why?
Is Rook takes F8 better?
I'd planned Rook takes F8, but there's Queen takes G4.
That's really disappointing.
My plan at first when I had the idea was Rook F8.
Wait, why is there Queen? Isn't the Rook defended?
Yeah, but Queen G4 stops the G pawn from queening, and then.
But after you just take, if you take with the knight, then I recapture and have a queen, and otherwise you can't stop G8 queen. Oh no, you can take on G7. All right, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll leave it for the audience. Anyways, don't play Rook A7, guys, if you don't have like a clear idea of.
Yeah, let's just highlight this position for a second and say that none of that would be working if the rook was somewhere sensible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, oh man, Mitch. Rook A7.
That was like a Hikaru level of arrows, except that at least the guy drawing the arrows was not Hikaru, so that was a real problem. But
actually, I think Rook A7 came in a bundle. I mean, it wasn't just Rook A7; it was Rook A7, Queen A8, and Rook D8. And so.
Yeah. When you said a bundle, it reminds me of like a software download. You know, that's kind of like what it was. It's just like a whole download of terrible moves. You know,
Mitch needs to be upgraded, guys.
He does. I think I'm going to start calling him Rook A7. You know, that'll be his new nickname. Hey, Rook A7.
I like your bundle analogy, Jesse. In the election context, I think it's like when you get a whole bunch of votes and you just count like 100,000 absentee ballots and drop that, and it's like, uh-oh, right? All right.
And Mitch is on the other side saying, "Stop the count! Stop the count!"
Oh,
he should have stopped it after Rook A7. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to close that game out so we can jump to the live game that we have here. Actually, we have some results. I should show those. Dylan ended up losing to Frank, which we thought the position looked great for Dylan after bishop takes g6. Here, I'm backing up. So bishop takes g6 at the board. In this game, this is move 33. No, it's a little bit earlier than that.
Yeah. The thing was, after bishop g6, the king could just hide on h8. And the game was.
I would like again to mention this moment after king h8 and knight I think Frank found a very nice practical resource of knight e5. I mean, technically it should be a bad position, but he kept it complex, played knight e5, intending to play bishop g4, and Dylan just could not handle the pressure, and he just collapsed it very quickly. I think that was a very nice. Yeah,
he could win an exchange on g1, but he knew that it was much better chances to have his knight than his bishop. So he retreats the knight from f3 to e5 in order to play bishop g4, and he still ends up getting the exchange back, but keeps his good piece.
Wow, that was an incredible decision. And they just started their next game actually as well, which cleared the prior game, but we had that position on the board. So ultimately, Frank getting the win there. They're on to their next game. Actually, I think everyone except Max and Michael have finished their first game. Max and Michael are the only two players still playing their first game. We saw this position a few moves ago, and it still looks very, very good for Michael.
I think it's just winning. It's just winning
pick
for
up the
black.
queens off. Yum.
Delicious. But it'll take a while to get the conversion, of course, so we can switch over to some of the new games. Let's see. So oh wow, G4 on the board against the Dutch.
What did Petrosian say there again?
If he wants to play the Dutch, don't stop your opponent from doing so.
What should you do if your opponent wants to play 2G4?
Yeah, that's bizarre too. I wish this did. My sense is this is like analogous to the wing gambit of the French, but just worse. But I mean, for a blitz game, sure.
I think it's dangerous. Yeah, Bishop H3, just trade it off, get the knight to G5.
I've tried this myself, but I played 2 Queen D3 and then 3 G4, which I don't know if it's
me being a Dutch defense player for many years, I can say the G4 I was facing constantly in my childhood years, and I would normally just take the pawn on F takes on G4, the second move, and after H3 just give it back, just play G3 and split positional game. But I mean, G takes on H3 is possible, but I think the critical move for black is not to play D6 but D5 and fight for some central squares. I don't remember, was it immediately G takes, or no, I think it was here D5. No, immediately D5, if I'm not mistaken. D5, H takes, Bishop G4, Queen D3, Knight F6. I think that was the idea. But maybe this is also playable.
And to make a small point, I don't know that it would work anyway, but with the d-pawn advanced, there's no rook takes h7, something takes back queen g6 mate tricks, which can sometimes be relevant, but when the king can go to d7, that's off the table. I feel like there have been a few books in various, miniatures in various books featuring some rook takes h7 and queen g6 mate things.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, g4 is very interesting partly from a match strategy standpoint because Mitch needs to win after game 1. So, while the Dutch really probably offers plenty of winning chances anyway, he certainly upped the ante with 2G4.
And, he often goes on tilt, and this last move, Queen B5, maybe it's fine. It doesn't feel right to me. I felt like he should have played something like Queen G3 and try to keep...
Likely result is C6, Queen B7, Rook B8, Queen A7, CD5. That's there now.
Yeah, so Queen B5, no bueno. Don't do it. And he's playing way too fast. He's mitching it already. He's clearly... we've seen this before. The guy can clearly just go on full tilt when he's not doing well. And it's a clear weakness that his coach should have addressed.
Actually, let's bring in Alex. I'm curious, what was it like to work with Mitch this season? And what were your hopes and thoughts for this match?
Well, it was a pleasure to work with Mitch. I mean, you guys know him, so
yeah, we love Mitch. That's why we make fun of him a lot.
Yeah, it takes a certain building up to a certain degree, a certain kind of relationship before you can have this license. And well, I mean, he's a hardcore chess fan and chess student. So that's always, of course, a pleasure to work with somebody who's so self-driven, and he paired up very nicely with Dylan. They worked together a bunch. They did a bunch of training games. I think that perhaps the easiest thing was just in pure chess terms. Maybe the hardest thing was psychology. I'd love to take it to the other coaches and sort of ask whether you guys think that working on psychology is mainly something that is sort of external to chess, like you just work on your general psychology and then that translates to better results on the chessboard, or whether you guys have like some very specific tips to help people to improve their mental game. I'd love to know that, because I think you guys have talked about these weaknesses and like things like going on tilt or playing too fast, but I think it's really difficult to address those in the heat of battle. So I'd love to take that to the coaches.
Arturs, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just following Michael's game, but okay. I think that we are different, everyone, and we can say quite a lot of good things how students should behave, but very often it's very difficult to change the mindset. And it really depends what kind of a person you are in life and how do you approach the game, the competition. And for some people, it's easier to deal with some big stress like traumatic loss. For some people, like I think it was Michael Tal, who said every single loss for him was a small death. And I'm not sure really what can a coach do here. I mean, except of constantly in a longer time frame explaining these things to the student. But there's one thing you say, and the second thing is what he is doing, and it's very, very difficult. I think it's a very long-term thing.
I've taught a bunch of students who play too fast. And I set them very incremental goals for improving their time management. So for example, like with Mitch, you know, I would like, if we're starting out, I'd be like, all right, it's a 15-minute and 5-second game. I'd like you to have less than 15 minutes on the clock at move 10. It would be like my first goal, you know. Not have more time than you're starting with or something like that. Then once he's able to do that 3 or 4 games, then I'd be like, okay, I want you to have 14 minutes, you know? And I would set goals for at the end of the game, I want you to have whatever, less than 10 minutes out of 15. And then I would move it down to 9 and 8 till we got down to something reasonable. Obviously, this stuff depends on whether a game is really complicated or really simple, et cetera. You know, but you need to provide some kind of concrete framework, I think, to help them, even though it's too simplistic what you're suggesting. So I would do that, and that's why I would expect my student to hit my time goal about 3 out of 4 games, 75% of the time, because I know sometimes a game is just like too easy, you win a piece or something, and then whatever, it's done before you get there. But I would like them to hit 75% my time goal, and then I move the goalposts again, another couple inches, and another couple inches, and another couple inches. And that would be the only thing I would focus on with that student. I have a student who's doing that right now. I don't teach them anything else. I just make them play games, and then I just look at how much time they had. And then I just tell them, like, did you have the right amount of time at the end of the game or not? Great. No comment on the piece hangs or their openings or anything. And then just go play chess for another month and then bring back your games to me and let me see how much time you had in each game.
Wise words from the ultimate sensei here. We can always tag that onto all of the advice that you share now, David. Eugene, do you have any additional comments on the issue of chess psychology and how you deal with some kinds of things like this or time management?
Yeah, one thing that I want to mention, this concept, when you're playing a game or when you just finish playing a game, there's all these swings, right? There's actually a term for them that my good friend Alex Yermolinsky wrote in his book that actually David yesterday pointed out, right? They're called trends. And these trends do affect people differently. So, you know, usually after a blunder, right, there is a second blunder coming, right, guys? Everyone has been on the same page because we are getting tilted. So here we're seeing Mitch, right? Classic situation. He lost the game. He is a must-win situation. He went crazy, you know, and now he's completely lost, probably position there. Still some chances left, but to me it feels like he's already lost the thread of the game. So how do you deal with the trends? That's, I think, how I would probably focus on my psychology lesson with my students. And I'm really happy how, for example, Jessie handled the negative trends. She lost yesterday with white the first game against Frank, chess coach Net. She won the second game with black. She tied up the match. Then the same exact thing happened, right? She lost with white in the blitz tiebreak, and then she won with black. And then in the last game, in the Armageddon game, she got black again. So in some ways, she's playing against the fastest player, right? She has barely any time, but because the trends with the black games were going her favor, she never lost hope. She fought, and she won the Armageddon.
Fantastic.
And that was the intense like knight and 2 pawns against rook endgame.
That's right. Yep.
That was a tough one. It could go either way for sure. Whoever was most focused at the end there.
One of the most dramatic games from yesterday. Jesse, you had mentioned in the last game that you're going to be calling Mitch Rook A7 for a little while.
Yeah.
For the foreseeable future. Eugene is already kind of skeptical of White's position here, already thinks maybe lost. What would you point to here? What's your Rook A7 of this game if you think that the game is trending away from Mitch?
Well, definitely the Queen B5 move was played so quickly, and it allowed Black a very easy game. I think C6 was just one move of many where Black was going to be completely fine. Whereas if you just play Queen G3, he maintains the pressure that I think is the intention of that wing gambit strategy. And I think we'll probably, there's other moves we could point to as well. But right there, if we just halt right there and say, well, Black's already doing great, already doing totally fine. Yeah.
Generally speaking, by the way, guys, when you sack pawns in the opening, right, you want to have a lead in development. Right. What Mitch is doing is the reverse of that. He's wasting so many tempi with the queen just to get his pawn back. Yeah. To me, it feels like he doesn't understand basic fundamental concepts of opening chess. Even though he's the opening genius here, right? He studies all these lines, but to me, the understanding is missing, while memorization maybe is still there, right? Whereas I focus complete reverse. I focus on teaching my student understand the concepts first, right? Then you can come up with moves later.
Yeah. I think this kind of move like Queen B5 is what you do when a gambit has gone wrong, right? It's like when you realize you don't have your initiative, you don't have your compensation, and you're looking for a way to bail out. Sometimes the best you can do is like, you go get your pawn back in the wing and your opponent takes over a positional advantage instead of like a material advantage. And it's like one of those levers you sometimes hit if things aren't going well for you. But in this case, you can see the difference is Mitch did it on purpose. He played D5 in order to play Queen B5, in order to play Queen B7, right? In a position where he hadn't run out of things he could do, right? I mean, he could just, at any point, he could just play E4 with central compensation, right?
Yeah, right. That's right.
He's just got a simple positional advantage that he can play with if he wants to. And he sort of hits this weird, switch to go for the queenside pawn.
I think that on move 15, he still had almost all of his time. And at that point, he's got to have been out of book for 10 minutes in the super sharp position. But I think on move 15, he played bishop h3 in 5.2 seconds. And he took 2 thinks that were almost 30 seconds prior to that, and then almost no thinking time on the other moves. So he's just at a very, very fast pace.
Yeah, so he probably had 14 minutes and change around that point. And frankly, like by that point, it was sort of a bad position.
And one thing, I'm always, when it comes to coaching, I'm always like the downer who says no one's ever going to make it. But I'll say, and this point is like, I've had a number of students, I don't know if I'd call them psychological problems, but problems like this of mitching it in various positions where they're just like, it's like they're obsessed and they're playing super fast. And
I think he was lost with a fast move again.
And one of the things that's interesting to me about it is that even after you tell them, and after like in conversation, they're like, yes, you're right, Dr. Cry. I get it. I was wrong. I will never do it again. It's, they still do it. And so going over that hump with somebody is a really interesting process. And, there's various tactics like David's incremental process you could talk about. But I think the truth is, especially, I just say this for coaching people for decades now, it's like the stumbling blocks, the places where, you're going to meet resistance, they're harder than they at first seem. Like this thing about mitching it, or excuse me, Rook A7 mitching it, it's a real stumbling block. It's not going to be some easy thing for him to overcome.
What are some things that coaches feel are the most easy to address issues? There's a lot of things that if a player has as an issue that needs to be addressed, even if they're aware of the issue, they may struggle with it their entire life. But some things can be relatively, maybe efficiently addressed. Are there any things as coaches that you feel like, these are pieces of advice I can give to maybe a lot of people in the chat right now that will really help your game right away? And if you're just aware of this, this is going to add some rating points. Maybe Alex, would you have any comments on that?
Yeah, well, one of the things that comes to mind is, two things come to mind. One of them is how to study openings in a way that, like Eugene said, focuses on concepts. I think that one of the common mistakes that people make is they invest a lot of their time studying just the theory without getting the fundamentals right, and then it can sort of lead to disaster. So this is one area that I think you can improve on relatively quickly. And the other is how to approach making decisions and calculation and their intersection. I think a lot of people, a lot of students, they calculate in a very erratic way. They just sort of look at a position and then by impulse go for one move. And then, they don't look more methodically, on a very basic level, like checks, captures, threats, and all of that. So I think improving the calculation process and improving how to work on openings are sort of two of the areas that I think yield a lot, and I think are good areas for a coach to work on.
Do any of the other coaches want to contribute any thoughts there?
I'll give a quick one. Well, I'm not coach. I'll let some you guys go first. The quick thing I'll say is one thing I've discovered is that in terms of just gaining rating points, if you spend some time working on your rook endings, that is the quickest way, because people's rook endings are absolutely abysmal. They are terrible. They're like the worst part of their game. And so actually just a couple of days ago, I put out on our YouTube channel a basic rook ending test. And I think a lot of the people in this room, like Eugene, would look at it and be like, this is too easy. But when I talk to people who, I have people, my students and friends have taken the test, most people are getting an astounding amount of those problems wrong. It's just 5 problems. You can take the test and see how you do. And when you realize how many other people don't understand the basics, well, A, you'll win all those rook endings, but B, you'll be confident to go into the ending. So it's just like an easy area of the game to invest some time, and it will result in gains, or chess gains, as the man likes to call himself.
There we go. I'll mention that I've pulled up the game here between Jesse and Rebecca. This is a position where Rebecca needs to win. She's down in exchange, so she's trying to fight back here. There's queen takes f7 possibly on the board here in this position. Meanwhile, black is trying to create some threats against f2. c1 is under attack, and maybe on the dark squares if things really align for black in the position. And I'll also switch over to the other games really quickly to kind of survey them. Chess Coach Net and Dylan have an interesting game with opposite colored bishops, which maybe is not as much of a draw as I thought it was a moment ago. But it is a situation where Dylan needs to win because he's down a game. So it's important at this point, after one game has been played in each of these matches, to appreciate that context. So it's going to be, of course, very, very difficult to get a win with the black pieces in the position. That is what Dylan needs at the moment. And then Chess Gains and Ponziani Master, I think they finished one game.
Yeah, I was
Michael
sweating there.
First game.
I mean,
Okay.
I was just watching Artur's face in order to watch the game.
Okay.
I just sent to Michael a message. Control time management. And I just repeat it. Control time management. I mean, this is something he definitely can improve, because he played really a good game and then suddenly, but okay, I'm happy it ended with a win. So
All right, so he's got
Impossible
a point.
to watch.
I don't think they've started their second game yet. They should in a moment. They have up to 5 minutes to kind of catch their breath, get a drink, do whatever they need to do. Their next game should start in a moment. So they're the only game that they're the only match that hasn't started their second game yet. So we'll switch back now to this game between Mitch and Kimmy here. very, very tense, of course, and this is the first place match. So whoever wins this match is in first place at the end of Ultimate Sensei Season 1. As we mentioned, the prospect of having a winner in Ultimate Sensei Season 1, Kostya, do you want to talk about plans for Ultimate Sensei Season 2 and going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I know people have been nervously waiting for the announcement of Season 2, and I'm happy to announce that the next rating band for the next season is going to be 14 to 1600. So we're taking it down a bit. We want to give more club players a chance to showcase and improve their skills. If you guys want to apply for the season to be a student, obviously no guarantees as spots are very limited. I'm going to drop a Google form link in the chat. It's mainly for 14 to 1600 players. We're talking about OTB ratings, FIDE, USCF, and what have you, but we'll take applications from everyone, even if you don't have an OTB rating. But yeah, I'm going to drop the Google form in the chat. And yeah, if you guys are interested in applying for Season 2, please fill that out. It's going to be really, really fun. Yeah.
And shout out to Fiona in the chat here, who everyone should follow if they're not following already. I think we should be able to fire a shout out link she just dropped in and gave a wave here. So Absolutely. What do people think about the position on the board at this point? B4 has been played, so a very dramatic move.
I think Mitch's knight is one of the worst I've ever seen. It's one of the absolute worst knights I've ever seen.
It's a good thing we know that you have such affection for Mitch's chess, because otherwise it would just seem like you're criticizing him constantly.
I mean, I like if she plays, she's thinking about it, but Queen D5 is a very simple move to play, threatening both Rook C2 and D3 and Queen F5. And she did it. She just played it. So flawless. Yeah, she's playing great, man. And I'm just going to go ahead and admit it. I thought Mitch was going to take this one easily, and it is not the case so far. It is really, truly not the case. Yep. I think that's over. That's crispy critters, as they used to say.
Well, it's the finals. We can't call it. We have to.
We can't call this race. All right.
But I think realistically going into the match, I know that it's still anything could happen in this game, but going into the match, Kimi had to be the favorite because her performance throughout yesterday. I mean, she actually really blew me away with the quality of her chess. I mean, she won all her games. And I was watching because, two of them were against my student Dylan. And I mean, for me, versus even the first game for me, she has really improved a lot. So I don't know if there are some coach secrets there in terms of the approach. But for me, I had prepared the students against focusing on Kimi. In part, and we felt that tactically speaking, the Kimi just had an edge over everyone. But positionally, we had some chances. Strategically, we had some chances. But what's really impressed me about the quality of Kimi's play is that she's been playing very good, both tactically and strategically throughout. She's centralized her pieces. She's played very, very, very good, handling of different structures. When she's been under pressure in a couple of situations, she's handled that very, very well. So for me, it's just, I think that has to be said. And that also creates more pressure on the players. And for me, Mitch's poor performance in the first game and so far in this second game actually is not so much a question of understanding, but a question of psychology. When you're in a high pressure situation and you're up against a player who's just been playing great, and one mistake might hurt you a lot. That would be sort of my prognosis.
It's worth mentioning too that she's done it all while playing one F5 and one F4, which feels like a little bit of a handicap, one would say.
I think she did make one little mistake here. I would have taken on C2 with the queen. I don't know what the GMs think, but
she just wants to hurt him real bad. She doesn't. Yeah, she wants to end it now.
But it looked like queen c2 would like trap both white's minor pieces and win the a pawn.
I think
Yeah,
taking with the rook also makes sense because black is still lying for a checkmate. So the white king is exposed. I think
Oh
it's a
yeah, this
viable
is
move.
Yeah,
this is
e5,
miserable.
e5, e4 is coming or something like that.
Oh man, she is brutal here. Look at this thing. Knight f4 is threatened at knight e3 whenever she wants it. Rook d2 first at some point. Oh man. She wins.
wow.
Victory.
Oh, there it is.
There we have it. Yeah.
Resignation.
Let's just play. Mitch won't play rook h2 here.
Wait, what about king h2? Why is he resigning?
Resignation seems very surprising. I mean, even if the position is obviously very unpleasant, I mean, very, very surprising to resign here.
I mean, I guess there's a nice winning plan of rook d2, queen b1, maybe.
You
Yeah.
can just play queen d3 too. That wins on the spot.
Oh man, it's miserable. Full misery.
But see, if she saw queen d3, she could play it last move.
Mitch
seems a bit
was
early,
just so disgusted. He probably heard on social media that I started calling him Rook A7 as well. He just decided it's enough. It's just enough.
Yeah. I think I'm with Vish Chess in the chat and what you were saying about it being like a psychological point in the match, Alex, that like your opponent's playing so well that you just start to get like intimidated. Like to assume your opponent's going to win this position with a minute on the clock is a little bit odd, right? I mean, it shows that he was feeling she's really strong.
It's pessimistic, at least, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's reliable reasons for pessimism, but valid reasons for pessimism, but you don't ever want to have that mindset.
Everybody has finished their match, but Michael and his opponent have yet to start their second game.
No, it's gone.
I've got it up.
They're in the
They're
opening.
fine now.
Oh, wait, I think I missed that.
So all three other matches are done then. And I'll switch over to the final positions here. We had a draw by repetition in the game between Jesse and Rebecca. It feels like kind of a friendly draw because they're both on the same team in this event and in their streams at #chess, which you guys should check out. But that does mean Jesse wins this mini match. It doesn't change anything about their final team placement or anything like that. And Chess Coach Net actually won this game here. The opposite colored bishop in game did not end up being a draw. He didn't need to win, but he pushed forward with g4 and created a passed h-pawn here that could not be stopped. Dylan was in a must-win position, though, so maybe Dylan wouldn't have tried quite so hard and ended up losing this position if he wasn't in a situation where he must win, because it sure had to be a draw earlier in the event. So that's all three of the matches that are done except for this final match, which is Michael versus Max.
Well, I'm for one very happy for Frank because he has had very tough tournaments so far and finishing it on a positive note. Yeah, at least something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, can we get Kimmy in to do an interview?
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna drop the Zoom link for the students.
What, can we not?
No, I don't think they'll just be in the waiting room.
Okay,
But we can go on break when we're ready and set that up.
Whenever we want to. But as soon as I bring in more players into the Zoom call, we're going to have to switch over to the Zoom layout, and I won't be able to show the final position. So if we want to switch away and go to Kimmy, we can absolutely do that, Kostya, but we won't be able to show this final position. So that's the only question.
I'm pretty sure they'll be around for something like half an hour.
Yeah, you're talking about the final game, Sam?
Right. Do we want to finish the final game here, or do we want to kind of bring Kimmy in right now? We can.
I think it might be a while, so it'd be good to get some interviews in, and I guess we can switch back to the board later.
Okay, that sounds good.
If there's some update.
Okay.
So, Kimmy says she'll join about 5 minutes.
Okay.
So we're good. We're good for now.
Sounds good.
So let's give some spotlight to the third, fourth place finishers, right? As they battle here. I mean, these are both really good players who've done well all season.
Yeah, absolutely. Both Michael and Max were in the top 3, 4 usually in the power rankings. And I think this is actually one of the closest matches.
And Michael lost to Max in the puzzle brawl in the semifinal. So he's seeking for a little revenge here.
Right.
I guess so.
And maybe this is also a moment to mention all of the players have streaming channels where they can be followed. So we can drop those in the chat. And of course, all of the senseis, all of the coaches also have streaming channels where they can be followed. So if people in the chat here are not following all of the players and coaches yet, you really should be. So we'll put links for those channels in the chat and definitely check them out.
Yeah, I'm going to just shout out this position that we got here. White played 9 bishop e2 in this topical exchange variation of the King's Indian. And it's kind of weird. So you can get this exchange with either playing h3 or bishop e2. Normally, you would play bishop e2 on move 6 if you were going to do this, and then you would play bishop g5 on move 9. And the problem is, in this position, that if you allow black a couple moves and black gets in a move like c6, his pawn structure is significantly better. So the way I like to think about these positions is white has like a development advantage, but black has a structural pawn structure advantage. And so I definitely like where Chess Gains is going here with this position. And I think you just play c6 here and then do standard King's Indian stuff with bishop f8 and move stuff to c5, yada, yada. You're great.
And it's a good thing that you like black's position because black is also in a must-win spot. He is down 1 game in this match so far.
Right. Maybe white did kind of, I don't know. I guess you could do it. It's not like it's over. It's just disappointing to me because I've played this as white so many times with intentions of quicker development, and with h3 you're just going to say, all right, I'll give black a lot of what he has, but then I'll try to get some space on the queen side. Me and Eugene had a tense draw in St. Louis years ago.
Yeah, we had a fight.
Structure. Yeah. And I misplayed it early, and then Eugene was torturing me for a long time. That's what I remember about that game. And Chess Gains did play c6. And white castled short, which I don't like. Definitely castles long, right, Eugene?
Well, yeah, in this case, regardless where white castles, I still prefer black because somehow it just feels like black has a clear plan to try to get someone on c5, bishop or knight, and eventually to d4, whereas white does have a little bit more space, but it's unclear, how to make progress. Maybe a3, b4, knight d2, c5, all that kind of stuff. Standard.
And that's why you want the king on c1 so that it can play some kind of role later in the game. Where now on g1 it's just done. It's not going to do anything for a very long time.
Right.
I think it really depends if white can play c4, c5, and then knight e2, knight c4. If he'll manage to do that, white is just fine. So black will have to play bishop f8, rook d1, and rook e8, a5, and bishop c5, the traditional ideas.
Right.
Shout out to #Chess who just joined us in the Twitch chat, finishing their match and their Ultimate Sensei performance. You guys are welcome to join us in the Zoom as well. We're going to be going on break in a little bit to get some player interviews in. Actually, Mitch is in the waiting room, Sam, if we want to go to that right now.
Okay, so I'm going to switch over to a break scene. We'll be back with the players in just a moment. All right. Welcome back. We've got Mitch at this point. We've got Dylan. We just lost Mitch's camera, which presumably was intentional on his part. So I won't comment on that. And we've got Dylan, and some of the other players will be joining in just a moment as well.
Cool. It's like the Brady Bunch.
We've got the Brady Bunch scene. And David and Mitch were just discussing the game that Mitch just played. So do you want to share some thoughts between the two of you on this event and that game? Or not?
Oh, well, I was just impressed. I mean, we were all impressed yesterday. Well, when Mitch played bishop takes a6 yesterday against Max, like all 4 senseis immediately were like, no, you can't take that pawn. And Mitch is telling us that he saw the whole idea of bishop c4, bishop e6 before he did it, despite playing the move in like 28.6 seconds. So that shocked me. That seriously shocked me.
Yeah, I was saying I saw bishop takes a6, rook over, bishop c4, queen c8, bishop e6, but I thought again before bishop e6 because I noticed queen takes c3 after playing bishop c4, queen c8, and I wasn't expecting that before. I still thought bishop e6 was the best move there, but I thought I was completely losing after queen c3, so I was very much regretting my decision, especially playing it so quickly. But Max didn't play into that, and I was able to thankfully win that game. But after queen c3, queen d7, king h8, I didn't know what to do. David was just saying before the stream started back up that maybe bishop b3 leads to some very complicated positions after an exchange sack by black. And that would have been much more complicated than the rook end game we got. So very thankful that I was able to make it to the finals after what I thought was a massive blunder there, which I think all the coaches also thought was a massive blunder there. And then, yeah, today's games against Kimmy played fantastically. I was absolutely destroyed. So I think it's very clear who the first place winner was. Very, very, very clearly, Kimmy is the best here. So congratulations to her. I'm sure she'll join the call soon.
She'll be on the call in a moment. Do you have any comments on your opening preparation for the match with Kimmy? Because you knew she was going to play f4 and f5.
Yeah.
How much did you get in terms of your preparation?
So I trained like 150 Dutch variations last night to prepare for this. Very different ones. I looked at the G3 systems and was planning on playing that if I drew or won the game as black, I was just going to play the G3 systems and kind of play slowly and positionally. But I prepped this G4 move if I needed to win. And instead I got completely destroyed in it, so it didn't work out.
Knight C. You prepped a plan A and a prep B?
Yeah. I also looked at a few other different ideas, like 2 bishop g5 and 2 bishop c3, or not bishop knight c3. But I didn't think I understood the bishop g5 well enough to play it today, so I was mainly plan A was g3, but didn't play it, played g4 instead.
Some world championship level prep right there. That's exciting stuff. Jesse, do you have any comments for Mitch? You've been touting him all season long, and obviously he's had a great season. Do you have anything that you'd like to say to him in the moment?
Oh, I already disowned the guy on social media. I disowned him, started calling him Rook A7. You know, it's pretty rough out there. It's pretty rough. No, I hope for the best. I mean, it's let me just say, it's been a really interesting journey for me over the last several months to watch Mitch grow as a player and to really go for it at a later age. And actually, one goal for me in the dojo is I want to get people like Mitch on to like a chess. We have this thing called Dojo Talks, and I want to get Mitch on to a show, not only maybe to talk about chess themes, but I just want to hear more about like where Mitch is coming from and what his dreams are and that kind of stuff on the show. I think it would be interesting for me, and I think maybe for other people. So, you know, that Mitch's journey is something that I'm interested in, and maybe he can say a little bit about what he sees for himself after this and some of his goals and hopes for the near future.
Well, thanks, Jesse. I'd be honored to come on to a Dojo Talks and talk about that. But I'm a little sad that you've disowned me. I thought second place would be okay, good enough for you, but I guess Rook A7. I liked my bishops, and I was thinking of like the ready idea of putting the bishop on B7 and the queen on A8, but then I never got the diagonal open, so it looked ridiculous. So.
And were we right that was basically Kostya's fault for that one variation against the King's Indian, the London versus King's Indian variation?
Yeah, I do remember that video, but it's also in Averick's book against the London as well.
Yeah,
so it's not just Kostya. Averick messed me up too.
Sam, is it all right if I bring Kimmy in? Is that
Yeah,
gonna?
we can. No, we can bring anyone in. We're just capturing the Zoom call right here. So anyone who wants
Oh,
to
sweet.
join, we'll just be dropping a little bit of a chime in here, and then we'll have them on camera.
Cool. Well, I want to hear from Dylan as well. Dylan, what was your experience like in the competition? I know you're just the constant underdog. How did it feel
Yeah.
playing? And do you feel like well, most importantly, do you feel like you got something out of the experience?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, despite my performance, I felt like I did play better and better, and I didn't feel psychologically like much of an underdog. I'm not too. I mean, I'm disappointed in the result, and I'm very apologetic to my partner Mitch. But somehow we still got second place, so thank you for that, Mitch. I feel like in most of my games, I got really solid positions, and I got huge advantages in a lot of them. Even today against Frank, I mean, I prepped super hard against this weird pterodactyl opening that he likes to play, like a weird version of the modern where you take on c3 right away. And
Yeah.
like I got the position I was expecting and probably like a +3 or 4 advantage, and then I just failed to convert. So that's sort of a theme, something I need to work on going forward. There are a lot of things I need to work on going forward, but Alex has pointed me in the right direction for, various resources that I can use to do so. So I'm really happy about that.
We should point out as well that you've been designing the assets for the event, all of the different templates and things that have been seen in the show and on social media and
Yeah,
such. So
thank you for that.
everyone who's been enjoying the show owes you a huge thanks for that as well.
No problem. It was fun to make.
Yeah, the design was awesome. And we got Kimmy here. Congrats, Kimmy. You've won the first season of Ultimate Sensei. You're the ultimate senpai. How was the match today? How are you feeling?
It still doesn't feel real. I know Mitch is like super well versed in terms of openings and prep, so I just gave up on that aspect. I'm like, he knows I play 1F4 or like 1F5, and I'll just let him, just do his thing, and hopefully I can just wing it, because it's a bird wing. Okay. Anyway, but yeah, I think those are some really tough games. I feel like I was just trying to follow basic chess principles, but yeah, nothing special, to be honest. So.
Who's to say that basic chess principles aren't special? I think that maybe some of the coaches would disagree with that.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys have noticed that sometimes I go YOLO and I push like G5 and stuff and just get a pawn storm. I've toned back on that, obviously, so I'm following more just like improving my pieces, and then if I can actually get something out of the pawn storms, I'll push it. So hopefully that's, yeah.
Actually, a bunch of coaches were waiting for you to go YOLO in game one. I think almost every coach wanted to see you play G4 and G5 once H6 was on the board in game one.
Instead of Queen E2, because your queen was ready to.
It's very funny. Kimmy, you played this move Queen E2 at some point, connecting your rooks right before Mitch played C4, starting to open the C file. And on the move that you played Queen E2, just calmly improving your harmony in your camp, every coach was like, G4, G5, he's got a pawn on H6.
Yeah, I looked at it, but I thought Queen E2 stopped C4, but then he still played C4, and I was like, no, my improvement doesn't work.
I see. So some prophylaxis before the YOLO. That's
failed prophylaxis because, I thought I could win the pawn on C4, but everything was hanging. So,
and we should also mention, of course, for everyone who's here, I think everyone or many people in the chat saw it, but your first game featured Rook F6, which was, of course, very, very nice. So congratulations on winning Ultimate Senpai, but also on finishing with some very, very nice tactics there. And I think that the coaches consistently mentioned that over the course of this event, that all the coaches were really impressed with your tactics. And it seemed like most felt that you were just the most tactically proficient player in the mix.
Well, hopefully that's one thing I'm known for.
Could you comment on your experience in working with David and what the experience was with competing in this event?
Honestly, I just didn't think I could improve anymore. So when I seized this opportunity to get some coaching, I was very excited because I didn't have a coach for about a year, and I forgot what it felt like to have someone like guiding me, because like I've been just doing my own thing. It's hard to stay on track. So David and Max really kept me on schedule. We had, sparring matches and just the whole formatting. Sometimes I overlooked the importance of just looking at a position and just calculating and finding the best move. So that's immediately like the first thing that David assigned us. And of course, Max was absolutely integral to, both of our improvements. So we just scheduled our own like matches and just analysis. So very helpful.
Awesome. And I think it was your game yesterday that featured the very pretty bishop h3 checkmate at the end, right? And I think there was a lot of discussion with the coaches yesterday as well about just the accuracy of that calculation, because you had about 3 minutes when you started calculating the whole combination. We were kind of waiting on you to move because you take down to like maybe 30 seconds or something, and then you just bashed out the whole combination. So that maybe is a testament to the exercises that you just mentioned and the work that you've done on calculation. That was something that all of the coaches, I think, were really impressed with.
Yeah, for sure.
I think what helped is that most of the variation was forced. So I just had to pause and make sure I didn't get checkmate on G2. And I was like, wait, knight E3, that like protects G2 and distracts the queen, enough time for me to just set up the mating net. So
there were a bunch of questions. Do you have knight E3 in pocket? And you played it like in a second. And it was a very impressive moment that I think all the viewers and coaches were really impressed with. Maybe we can pass the question back to Dylan and Mitch for a moment. What was your experience training with this event, and how are you going to kind of carry forward the training that you've been doing? The event stops. There will be another Ultimate Sensei, but chess training doesn't stop. So how are you going to kind of continue some of the practices that you've been engaging in for this event? Maybe Dylan can go first.
So I'll start by just saying that we set up a training regimen where we, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, for the most part, we would convene online and play a few blitz and rapid games at the start before the blitz event, and then mostly rapid afterwards to prepare for the finals. And that was really helpful just to stay competitive and, that was really useful. And we discussed openings and prep together as well, consistently. So aside from the coaching we got from Alex, and we did one group session with Alex as well, we worked together a lot, and that was really useful.
Mitch, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Dylan was just describing our training regimen, just the two of us together, and that was really helpful. And I'd like to say that Dylan pretty much went equal with me in all of those games. So he's a really great player. So the 8th place result that he got today is not really reflective of his true potential. He's shown that he's a really great player. So don't let that fool you. As for coaching from Alex, Alex has been super helpful. I've learned a ton under him. He's pushed me really hard in all of our lessons. He's been extremely welcoming to me, and very confident in my abilities, and I've really appreciated that. Constantly back and forth PMing about different ideas. He and I had some really big prep for Kimmy, and then she started playing the Dutch. We had to switch that up last night.
I also spent an incredible amount of time preparing for her Nimzo and the Caro against her E4, and she just totally sidestepped all of it.
Yeah. Since I'm an E4 player, we were expecting to surprise her with D4 and then get into a Bogo Indian, maybe transpose to a Catalan, depending on how it went. I read all of Avrick's first book again in the last 2 weeks preparing for this. So I was ready for that. And then she played the Dutch against Dylan yesterday, and I had to throw that away and prepare for the Dutch last night.
I actually had a question for Kimmy. Were you aware, or did you go into the Dutch knowing what we would play against it? Did you do any prep against us?
Honestly, the only prep was the first move. Like, I knew you guys, I know that I play the French, and you'll probably not play E4 because I'm just, I'm comfortable in the French. So I might just like sit still and just hold my ground. But my main concern ever, like throughout my chess career, was playing against d4. So I'm not sure if this should be public knowledge, but I was really uncomfortable with the Nimzo, just the overall plan, and I couldn't sit still in the position. So I decided that if you're prepping for my Nimzo, like the best way to throw you off is not to change a specific line in my Nimzo. I'm just gonna throw away the Nimzo and play the Dutch, because I mean, everything was leading to it. I loved the F pawn. F4 came naturally, so why not F5, for black?
And Dylan, we did briefly look at the Caro Kann this week before the finals, and talked about whether Kimmy wanted to play into the Caro Kann, and sort of we were kind of guessing that you guys would prepare openings a bit. So although Kimmy had gotten in a good position against your Caro Kann in a previous one, or at least a position that we were comfortable with, we figured you would have prepared more for it. So we sort of looked at a couple lines against the Caro Kann together, and then Kimmy was just kind of like, whatever, let's avoid any prep.
I respectfully decline the Caro Kann. Like the fantasy variation was, I could see myself playing it, but it's just not my normal go-to. So
yeah, which Max had played against you, so we considered her maybe taking up his fantasy, depending on whether you would have how many different lines you would have prepped. And
I'll take that as a compliment that I was at least able to make you reconsider an opening decision.
Chased her away from 1e4.
And Neil Bruce commented in the chat that Alex's streams and the training on those streams were really, really instructive. And it's worth mentioning, we're talking about some of these sessions, people can still go and check out these sessions. All of the VODs are still there. I'm guessing none of the coaches have sub-only VODs. Maybe, but I think that you guys can check out those VODs and see some of those training sessions.
Yeah, I just dropped all the links there in the chat. Sorry, go ahead, Dylan.
I highly recommend Alex as a coach, because it was clear that he really had our best interest in heart, not only for the result of this match, but more so long term. And he was just always available for us.
Yeah, it was very clear that Alex was focused on training us for long term. We wanted to win, and it's unfortunate we didn't, but he very much cared about our long-term growth, and I think that that's the most important part about all of this is long-term growth. And I'm looking forward to continuing to train and try to grow my chess from here.
Yeah, maybe we could switch just to the live position real quick so people can see what's happening. But you guys as students definitely stay on the line. You might not be visible, but you'll be audible. And maybe we could ask you guys for what advice would you give for future competitors on Ultimate Sensei, future students? I don't know, maybe starting with Dylan and then just moving down the line.
So what's the next rating bracket?
It's gonna be 14 to 1600.
Okay. Is there a lineup ready for that already, or?
We just announced it, so we're gonna have applications soon, and maybe people will be watching for future seasons, because we're gonna try to cover all the rating ranges eventually.
Yeah, I guess just I would say try to be as much of a sponge as possible, because at that rating you can probably grow proportionally much quicker than we can, both because it's harder to improve the higher you get, and also the higher you get, the more likely you are to have reached your plateau, as in the case of me. So just be a sponge and really follow your coach's guidance. And I think you'll see a lot of improvement.
Well, how about you, Mitch? What would you say?
Yeah, I totally agree. Listening to your coach is going to be the most important part, and being willing to learn. All of us below the master level can learn a ton from titled players. They're titled and we're not for a reason. So if we don't listen to them, then I don't know what's wrong with us, So definitely listen to your coach, put in the time, and realize that maybe you think your training regimen is good, but it can always be improved. That's what the coach is for. and that long-term growth is the most important part of it. So to continue to keep that in mind, and not just to try to be trappy for winning it, but to know what you can do to raise yourself to higher levels, to qualify for future Ultimate Senseis of higher brackets.
As the player here with the lowest title, with the NM title, I could say Masters could definitely learn a ton from every single coach here as well, and from Kostya, and Jesse's obviously a coach, although in this event he's a commentator. So there's no stopping learning, obviously, for everyone here in the chat and for the competitors and so forth. I did pull up the position here on the board, so I just want to kind of appraise everyone of the situation. It's obviously looking great for black. It is opposite colored bishops, but it is a position with 3 extra pawns, which means we're likely to go to blitz tiebreak. So not only has this been the most hard-fought match, it's likely to continue for a bit, as it certainly looks like we should get a win with the black pieces and tie up this match.
It's also an extremely important match for Dylan and I, because if Michael wins the match, I think Arthur's and Alex tie for second, and if Michael loses, I think Alex is a clear second, if I got the math correctly on the points.
Yeah, let's see. So Team Alex, you guys are at 7 and 8 points, right? So Frank finishes with 2, and yeah, so if Michael wins, they'll get 6. Yeah, you guys will tie. If Max wins, then you guys get clear second.
I don't like having to root against Michael.
How could anyone root against Michael? He's just such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Everyone in the event is nice, but Michael stands out.
Michael's
he just
adorable.
always had an outstanding mood the whole event.
Yeah, great.
Agreed.
Sure.
Looks like
I will say that he's very motivated by Jesse having criticized him throughout the season.
Oh man.
So
What did you say, Jesse?
I'm always the bad guy. I'm always the bad guy in these situations.
No,
Yeah, we
actually,
should-
also me. I also landed some punches, but positive ones, of course.
We should mention that Dylan and Michael, though they're not on the same team here, they run their YouTube channel, Chess Lifestyle, together, which you guys should check out for a lot of chess videos and vlog style content. Yeah, was it hard not being on the same team? Would you guys have preferred to have been able to train together?
in some ways, it was a welcome break from, our normal training routine. After this, we're going back to training together on a weekly basis, probably twice a week, middle game and end game studies. And yeah, we both work really hard together routinely. So I don't think we minded too much, but it was a little awkward.
Cool.
Fantastic.
I imagine it's probably like easier for a team to function if you have that like built-in partnership, like for Eugene's team. But I imagine that there's some advantage to having this shift in perspective for like a few weeks by working with a different person. I'm sure Mitch gave you something like different that will be of value to you long term.
For sure. Yeah, Mitch and I got along really well, and we'll continue to probably
It gave you a lot of QGA experience in our rapid game.
If we made it to the finals against each other, we were going to make a forced draw in like 14 moves.
We've played like 15 QGA games in the past few weeks. So,
And I should mention, I think that everyone saw that on the board, although the board's a little small, so maybe some of the viewers were not picking up on the details there. Black did just win that one. So we are going to tiebreak. So Max and Michael both got a point. They have a little bit of a break here, and then they'll be starting their blitz tiebreak games. So it's 2 games at 3+2. If it's still tied after that point, and obviously they're pretty evenly matched, so that might happen, it will be an Armageddon game. Armageddon is 3 minutes for white, 2 minutes for black, 2-second increment. So that'll be the potential format if we reach that point of the match.
Yeah, I think they'll be starting in a couple minutes. Let's see. Actually, maybe we could go to a break real quick and come back when their blitz games are starting.
Okay. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Ooh, we've got some camera issues, which we'll address in a moment. No, I actually think we're okay. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. We've got the game underway. So we have Max with the white pieces, Michael with the black pieces here. This is the first of their Blitz tiebreak games. So they're the only match to go to the Blitz tiebreak today, and this is sharp. We just have captures on F3 and on C6. Does anyone know this opening? Can anyone comment on if this is like theory?
Coach has no clue.
No clues.
I mean, I've seen it somewhere maybe, but definitely I've not recommended this. So, I mean, we did not work on this particular opening. So this must be Michael has worked himself.
Yeah, I think this is a line. I feel like I've seen MVL play this with black a couple times.
Oh, wow. The best thing I can recommend is using MVL's work on any opening if you can find it.
Max's speed here tells me that he knows that he knows of this position, because he's not somebody to just smash out moves.
Right. It's 3 minutes versus 2 minutes. And this is the Blitz game. It's not the Armageddon game. So that 3 minute to 2 minute difference is a minute of thinking time.
Yeah, already a big edge.
Very nice white bishops.
I was quite unhappy how Michael finished the second game. Of course, I was following it the entire game. And I had this feeling that he had some psychological problems because in his mind, there was still this first mistake. And also with him, we talked about this, that mistakes typically they come in pairs. And then he blundered this pawn in the second game on d5. He was probably already lost. And then suddenly Max blundered with knight b5, knight d6 check. And I think at that moment, it was a quite important psychological moment that Michael did not take a little time out. So he proceeded to play on. He just missed everything. And something like 3-4 moves, and he was just dead lost. I mean, it's so unfortunate, because I know he definitely plays better than this, than that those unfortunate 4-5 moves. So I hope he had time to recover.
Get his balance back, play his best in the Blitz.
He has also some problems with time management. And yeah, definitely we've talked about this, but this is something you can talk whatever you want, right? This comes with practice. And I can say you have to play faster, you have to be more decisive of your decisions. But I mean, still, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And he is down a minute and a half on the clock, but he's kind of picking up the speed. It seemed like the opening maybe was much fresher to him than it was to Max. But I feel like their pace is kind of leveling out a little bit. Of course, he now does have that time disadvantage. What do the coaches think about the position here? Maybe you could comment, Eugene?
Yeah, at first, I kind of liked White's position. The two bishops looking at the black's king. White was about to castle, play knight b5. And White decided to just go for a very simple a3 move, which to me also feels quite natural, although now that maybe black can lock the bishop with knight e4 as he's doing here, maybe put the bishop on c6. And that to me feels probably the right strategy for black, for Michael here. And it's, I think, too early to say who is better.
G5 very quickly. Sharp move. So Michael's getting a bit more confident, maybe.
I was thinking when black played knight e4 to just take it. I know this is not the kind of thing I've ever done in my games, but just take it and go to the opposite colored bishop ending with bishop e4, fe4, rook g1, g6, and then like rook g5 or something, and say black's got this pawn on e4 that makes their bishop less good than white's bishop, and try to play out an endgame.
And to that point, instead of bishop c6, which certainly looks natural, bishop a4 I think would have been better. A little bit annoying. Take over the d file and just say, right, black will always be better because he owns the d file. And he can just double calmly and go about his business.
Nice idea from the game Ready Rubenstein, Bishop A4.
That's right. Give a
course.
shout out here. I'll shout it out with the book club. We're doing this book club here. Actually, I'm gonna have a question for Eugene here. Actually, so we're doing this book club on every Wednesday, and this is certainly an interesting position they have going on now. And Eugene, the question I was gonna ask for you, this is kind of like a Russian chess culture question.
Sure. Yeah, go.
How would you define the word technical chess?
Usually technical chess is you have like a small advantage and you're trying to convert it.
Uh-huh.
That's like technical almost feels like mechanical in my view.
Right. I guess, yeah. So something like that is how I would have just intuitively put it myself as well. Yeah, I think we were arguing about it anyways at the book club. And apparently we were chastised too, because there is some kind of definition actually put forward in the book. At least that's what one viewer wrote. But I was like, I don't get it. What is it really? Tell me what it is. And then I said to myself, only one man knows. His name is Eugene. He knows all about Russian chess culture.
I am well versed in the Russian chess school. Yes.
Yeah.
Also, technical has another kind of meaning that like almost like chess culture meaning, right? Like how good are you not just converting stuff, but like making those decisions. You know, when you have like two options, right? To go for some kind of an end game or to go for an attack, right? You can also apply that thought process to that decision making. All right, I can probably calculate the attack, but it's not super clear. Instead, I'm just going to go to this end game where I know that I have zero risk of losing.
Right.
And all the coaches would say, good job. Like Borgov style, right? If you guys watch the movie. So I think they got that right, that Russians are, you know, grandmasters are very like technical in terms of execution, going to the end game, converting the end games, you know, dry, boring chess, whereas Beth Harmon is this creative genius who doesn't like end games.
Rook h6. That would be my technical decision. Rook h6, then bishop e4 and g3.
Exactly. Yep.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Time management.
Feels like the tide has turned here. Yeah, Michael's definitely in the driver's seat.
Rook h3 is also really nice. I mean, maybe not as powerful, but speaking of technical chess, he just seems to be making convincing moves, move after move very quickly. And he's erased his time advantage. He has no time, and Max also has no time at this point. So they're even in that respect.
Yeah, I think Michael has played this endgame really well so far.
Brutal. Bishop in.
Oh, ouch. Game over. That's a pretty good instructive position too, and how with bishops of opposite color, the side with the initiative is so much better.
Yeah, the great Botvinnik said that, right?
Yeah.
The attack is stronger with opposite color bishops.
See, with Eugene, it all comes back to Russian chess culture. It doesn't matter what we're talking about here.
Yep. It's been done before. Everything has been played out before, all these ideas. Nothing is new.
I love everything that Michael is doing. Like instantly, he's not thinking at all. He's just moving. It's so fun to watch. Like Rook F3, activating the king. It feels like he's maybe taken a step back now, but it's just so fun to watch him. He just looks super confident.
Yeah, technique has been really good. All the way.
So
yeah, I want to give it.
Of
go ahead.
Soviet players being great about technical play.
Rook H2, come on. Oh, come on.
Oh.
I think Rook G3 was even
Or Rook G3, yes.
simpler.
Oh, and there you could have played Rook E2, Rook A5, Bishop C7. Take the E pawn, man.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yeah, the time scramble.
I'm just going to go ahead and say, too, that my favorite part about this whole series, this whole Sensei business, has been Artur's reactions. They're going viral. They're going viral on Twitter,
That's
man.
right.
It's hilarious. Really good reactions. Even when we're watching the games, we'll be talking about some BS about Russian chess culture, yada, yada. But if you look at Artur's face, he's involved, man. He's deep in there. He's like, oh, man, what is my student doing? That jerk.
Yeah. I thought very seriously about setting up an Artur's camp for the final because I knew we'd get some good reactions, and I just didn't have time to set it up.
This is drawable.
It's impossible to watch. I mean,
at this point, it's almost
rook c2. Ooh. Defend your king.
Mate, give me a mate.
Give him a mate. Give him a mate. Rook c3. Come on. Oh,
yes.
Yeah, mate in that.
Okay, rook e5, king d7.
King d7. Yeah.
Ow! Just defend your king.
Thud.
Checkmate.
Check.
See, guys, this is interesting. Like Max put his king g1 earlier, right? A couple moves ago, instead of king g3. Like this is where the Russian chess school comes in. Why would you put your king with g1?
I don't know, but Max is he has Soviet blood, so he should have known this.
I mean, of course, Michael has to work very hard on the technique. I mean, converting technique. This is something where he's lacking big time, and I see it all the time. In every single game, he gets great positions. Then comes the time scramble. Then comes the panic, and it's completely random. It's every single game like this. I just cannot watch it already. But
me neither, Artur's.
He was playing really well up until 10 seconds they got down to the final part. But
because he loses the concentration right there, at some moment he just doesn't know what to do. That's something that
doesn't want him to have 5 seconds on his clock.
Yeah, better to avoid it. Maybe a question for the coaches: what would you guys do differently if you're doing another season of this, or what would you change about your approach? Just to anyone.
I think we need some kind of a good, maybe special award for the most improved students and just kind of measure their progress. Because it's kind of hard to judge progress just from these games alone, right? Because a lot of stuff is behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And also maybe a fan favorite. I think that's also something... I mean, definitely we are fighting for the prizes, but fans could vote also for something.
Although then we have a big advantage with the hashtag chess fans. They've been killing it in the chat lately, right?
yeah, that could be difficult.
I'll put up a poll for that, though. That's cool. Yeah, go ahead.
This Ultimate Sensei has cost me some love and some students, both Mitch and Vishnu talking about how they're abandoning me as a sensei and leaving me for Kostya. Before there was some tentative breakups, there was some flirtations, some heavy flirtations, and I got really jealous and angry, and now it's just official, man. It's just official. They've left me.
Michael figured out how to solve his time management problems. If you guys are following the current game, he just puts the knights on F2 and C2, and he's gaining time.
You would think he was the one who lost the last game. This looks like a tilt.
Right.
What is this?
What is he doing there?
It feels very YOLO.
Michael is kind of unrecognizable in this game.
Now they're saying that I left them, and it wasn't them who left me. No, that wasn't the way it was.
Quote, I've disowned him. That's what
Strong quote.
It actually feels like Michael is the one here on the tilt, but
I mean, you'd think Max would be upset. He had had a draw in reach and just let his king get checkmated by a rook roller.
I think I understand actually now his philosophy, because he was always behind on time, right? So he's like, how can I make the first 15 moves on autopilot?
Right, and apparently this is his opening, and he calls it the slug.
Slug.
The name is good.
ChessDojo says it's King's Fianchet opening, symmetrical variation.
No, is this
I'll
the
get
slug?
that updated.
Everybody knows that this is the slug. I like White's position here. White's position.
Yeah, the knight on f2, guys. Remember what
Yeah.
Bronstein said about knight on f7 and the King's Indian, right?
That's
No,
right.
I
There's a
don't.
lot of knight
What did
F7
he say?
and stuff.
It's the best square for the knight.
Oh,
There you go. And that's what rapport says about the knight in the Dutch.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
I don't like e5 though.
Alexa has a related opening to the slug. He calls it the 8 pawns.
It's like an accelerated hippo, the slug.
That's a great visual. I'm imagining an actual hippopotamus, with accelerated powers. I love it.
Was the move f4 for black last move like an idea? Like you just throw that pawn into f4 and then...
Yeah, that was a Petrosian type of move. And then rook takes f4 later.
Yeah, and then you bring your knight and...
Now he's doing pretty good as it is. The knight, once you get the knight on c3.
Yeah, knights on c3 and c6 with the reverse color are painful.
Back in the
Bishop
day
e5.
at the GM house, me and Josh Friedel would always be analyzing, and he never wanted to stop analyzing, so we had to come up with a system of, when he'd have to stop analyzing. And so we called it a rule that if I got a knight to c6 or c3, then he would have to stop, So that was like a signpost where we could have, position was done.
Yeah, in the Catalan, especially when the White's knight lands on c6, some famous players, Catalan players, Big Mick, Mikhailevsky, were really good at that.
That's right. And knight d1 is being highlighted, and let's call that the Mitch knight, knight on d1. That's you can fianchetto a knight, but you can also Mitch a knight, and there it goes, knight to d1. I think black should take, then go back. Yeah, very good. Leave the Mitch knight on d1,
a5, a4 I approve of.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, Max is playing this game right.
He's playing really fast. Yeah, just boom, boom, boom. Time advantage, everything advantage.
but I don't think that white is worse here. Knight b2, knight c4. If I manage to play that.
So black's got to play rook fb8 and b5 to do something quickly.
B3 is so weak, right? In a lot of
I would have preferred black to
is
have
not
a
that.
pawn on b5 and a6 to stop this knight b2, knight c4.
Fair enough. Yeah.
No, knight b2, knight c4. White is simply better.
Now white's better, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, that was fast.
Showing the power of
The Mitch knight has now been improved.
So apparently in the slug system, the knight from f2 is transferred to c4, right?
Oh, that's one of the known strategical ideas of the slug. Yeah.
Wow, it's like a reverse Rubinstein maneuver from the Rui.
All
You
the
put it on
GMs just
B3.
aren't clued into all the strategic themes of the slug yet.
Well, a key idea of the slug too is knight c4, knight d6, and then knight d5 is hanging. Could be some issues. Yeah.
Is that a thematic idea?
Knight d6 right here now with a thematic idea.
I
of
like
the slug.
rook a e1 and h3 g4 and just total domination.
Yeah, that's good. That's in the book of the slug. Rook fe1. Yeah, I was with you. I like rook ae1.
So
Yeah, but the
For my
time
own
management, I mean,
is the slug the animal, the slimy animal, or is the slug like a bullet slug?
No, it's the animal. It's the animal.
Okay.
Just definitely the
It
animal.
also has one called the snail slug or the slug snail.
Well, it's definitely an animal because, there's this whole thing about openings with animal names. They're kind of stigmatized at the moment. Sam Shanklin kind of explicitly stigmatized them. They were stigmatized before, just degenerate characters that kind of live on the outskirts of town in a van. Not the kinds of people you want to associate with, but if you've fallen far enough in life, you might, be drawn to one of those characters and, take on the slug, the hippo, the vulture, all these animals, your chess has fallen when you've gone to an animal name or the lion.
Queen a8 here should be really
queen
good.
a8 is automatic move. It's automatic. Just play queen a8, rook a8, just automatic.
Yeah. It's that long diagonal. Yeah.
I mean,
But one of the things though,
literally Zugzwang.
when this book on the slug was written years ago, it was noted that the Mitch knight will just be much better than the dark square bishop because the dark square bishop is blocked by his own pawns. And I don't know where queen a2 is going, but
It's going to G2 because it already went there.
There you go. I really wish he had taken over the a file before he did that, but There it is. Because now rook a8. Uh-oh. Black's got a little play. Black's got a little something with rook a8.
Rook a1, yeah.
Or something,
Yeah.
But it's good to play bishop e7 first. So I'm very happy to see that.
The problem is Michael is playing for the draw. You cannot do that.
He's also playing for it with 4 seconds on the clock against a minute and a half.
Yeah, it's tough.
Very tough, yeah.
G5. Come on. You're capable of G5. You've got a minute. Yes!
He plays it.
Yeah, black is not worse, probably.
Rook b1 and black. Oh, knight a5, I guess.
He wants to play rook c3, maybe.
It's disheartening with the control of the A file to see like queen a2, queen g2. As mentioned, queen a8 was just so pretty. Or even just rook a1 and then later queen a8 or something. To step away from that A file, it's very sad.
Oh, we're talking about the orangutan. And, you know, GM Perlstein, I was really offended on
I refuted that opening.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but you called it the Sokolsky. And I was like, excuse me, the Sokolsky or whatever? It's well known that that isn't an animal opening. That's the orangutan. And you didn't refute it, buddy. You can't refute an orangutan. Have you ever seen how strong those things are? Like, just a baby orangutan can beat like a super duper, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. No chance. Those things are strong, man.
And so can the hippo.
Oh, the hippo is very strong.
Oh, 96 king c6. 96 king c6. 96.
Oh.
Rook check and then rook takes knight.
Yep, that's over.
Rook check now wins.
Oh, he missed knight d6.
Knight g6, king c6 would have been killer.
He's still doing all right. Oh, no, rook d4. Oh, rook d4, my friends. What?
Should be good now.
After bishop
be still
e7,
easy
still
win.
king c6 maybe was chances.
Rook d4.
Oh my god, he's got a problem with his king. He's got a problem with his king.
Crispy
Add me to
critters.
his profile.
Yeah, it's over.
Nice. So we're going to Armageddon.
Yes, Armageddon. A chance Parker's and I to just die of simultaneous heart attack.
I mean, when you go back to the move, whichever.
Every move, yeah.
Just go back to the move 32.
Okay.
Just how can you lose this?
I mean, you just have to play through the next 33 moves. To
Right.
The
But now
queen
Mitch
a4,
is
a2,
saying-
and then g2 in that position.
That the dragon is the best animal opening. And I will say there's been some hectic debate out there in the social media sphere about trying to reclaim the honor for the dragon by saying that the dragon is not in fact an animal. And there's been a lot of taxonomological, is that a word? Taxonomy debates about the dragon and whether it's an animal, whether it's stigmatized. And I'll say that's one of the biggest debates out there in the Twitter sphere right now. Is the dragon an animal? If it is,
And as the expert on the Accelerate Dragon, I can definitely tell you that it's a mythical creature and also the star constellation. So there we go.
there we go. There we go. Yeah, especially if you're going to accelerate an animal.
I think either way, the hedgehog kind of wins.
Yeah,
All right.
Hedgehog is rock solid.
Hedgehog
Sam?
cannot be refuted, guys.
Okay, let me
Max
just,
is so we're going to flip for color. I'm going to assign Max the number 1. Michael's going to be 2. Whoever gets their number is going to get the white pieces in the Armageddon game. So it is going to be Max with the white pieces. So he's going to have 3 minutes against 2 minutes. There will be a 2-second increment. And good news for Michael is that he's already accustomed to playing down 1 minute against Max.
That's a strategic mistake.
Also,
Because black was winning all of the games in this match.
Also, the slug doesn't depend on color. I mean, you can play it with
that's true. You can always slug it out. And I want to say, people are talking about the hedgehog, and this has been decided long ago. The hedgehog does not enter into this debate because the hedgehog is not an opening; it's a setup. So that's why it's not stigmatized as an animal.
Feels like we're making up rules as we go here. All right.
Yes,
Well,
go ahead and start the game whenever
start.
you're ready.
Oh, this is a fast one here.
Yeah, so this is going to be 3+2 versus 2+2 with Black having draw odds for this game. This is the third place match, so very important for the standings as well, as Team Astana and Team Nixons are, still waiting on their final seeding.
Don't play G6.
And looks like immediately theoretical discussion here, right? This is Michael's pet line. I specifically told my students not to enter this against Michael.
Didn't we have a
but the
game
question
that
is-
went really well for Mitch in this line? Of course, Mitch is very booked up, but I think Mitch played Michael in the draft tournament in this line, and he managed to promote those queenside pawns, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Then the question is, does this strike you as the solid line you would play with Black in the Armageddon?
Well, you got to play what you know, right? So
Yeah,
this is
Sure.
this is what he's good at.
No, I think, this is a great position for a blitz opening, right? Yeah.
I feel like even though Black has draw odds, at this rating level, almost any rating level, like a draw is just not what you're thinking about. You're just thinking about getting something that you're comfortable playing as quickly as possible, right?
Yeah, and a
Right.
draw can happen in a variety of ways, like perpetual check after you go off in the attack, so draws are... I think Bishop G5 here is what the guy should do. Yeah, he does it.
On the board.
Nice. Skills.
And this is his best game in terms of time management so far. He's playing much more quickly.
Yeah, he has to.
2 minutes lit a fire.
Maybe E4 here.
E4? I was going to suggest E4, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
E4
nice
is-
dynamic.
That's a big move. Yeah, but it's not so easy to spot it, is it? Yeah, he missed that.
He could still do it, and if he doesn't, the problem is, one reason he might spot it is that, well, he didn't spot it, but he wants to play Bishop A6, but the knight's hanging, so it might cross your mind to play E4.
But even
Okay.
here, with the knight on D4, it does feel like Michael should be happy.
Yeah, he's got,
Yeah, but
after
the knight on
knights.
C2 is incoming.
Yeah, exactly. Knight C2, knight C4.
Knight C4.
No, I would have played it too.
And Queen A8 and Knight B3. Look at this. It's like,
Oh, nice shot!
surprise.
Surprise!
Second chance at Queen A8
Surprise!
on the other side of the board.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Queen A8. Nice, he did
Played it,
it.
yes.
Yes.
Knight back to A3, right?
Knight back there. Well, jeez.
I think he sees.
Yeah, the
I
D
think
pawn
he
is very
sees.
important here.
Of
No
course.
chance. He's gonna play like maybe F4 or something.
Oh, that is a big surprise. That is a hard one to face too, psychologically. Now you're gonna be. Chess games doesn't want to be thinking right now. 93.
Yes.
He loves it.
Knight
on
B3.
A2?
Knight B3,
Or,
Knight B3,
like,
Knight B3. What
Knight
are you
B3,
thinking here? I mean, Knight B3.
Oh!
Oh,
It was a surprise to both players.
I can't watch this.
Yeah, Artur's he's involved emotionally with the students, man. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good theater. I mean, what is he doing with Queen B3? Queen D6, what are you doing? What are you
Don't
doing?
take on
You can't
E5.
take
Don't
E5.
take on E5. Don't take on E5. But still, that's a delicious pawn there on D6. That's a really delicious pawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
C4.
Queen B5, Knight E5, Knight E2, Knight G3. Surprise again.
Surprise!
or maybe even now Queen B5.
yeah, now Queen B5 looks interesting.
Though it's more obvious then. It's more obvious at that point.
Yeah.
But what's the move? Queen C6?
Knight to E3 to defend the rook.
Or just 93.
I mean, the knight needs to keep going back as it keeps going to the wrong place.
Well, Chess Games has kept his time lead, though. There it
He
is,
does
Queen
place it.
D5. The big moment of the match. Will he blow it? So easy to blow it.
Just play knight E3. The guy's
Yeah.
gonna flag if you just stop hanging things.
Yeah.
Yeah, time is again a big factor for Michael.
Move
Yeah.
the H pawn or any queen e7 is acceptable too.
We have some of the same tricks now.
Oh, the same trick.
Yeah.
Knight e7, knight g6. Surprise!
They both know about it though now.
They know. They
It's no
both
longer
know.
a surprise.
They're aware.
Queen e7 looks pretty good, you know.
Queen
Again,
d8.
d6.
Can white try knight e7, take on b8, knight
Knight
c6?
c6, try and push the d1.
Oh,
the point.
he
Back
might.
rank is really weak with the king on h8. He pulls back with c5.
I mean, looks white is definitely better, yeah, with the d pawn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, knight c6 was a classy move.
Oh, this is queen c7.
Oh, that's a big pass.
No, the rook.
Oh,
The rook.
the rook.
Nope,
Fate
nope,
mate.
nope. That's match. Oh.
Called it.
Painful.
Ba-bam! Ba-bam! Ba-bam!
What a finish.
Congratulations to Max on victory in the longest finals match of this event. The only one to go to Blitz tiebreak and then on to Armageddon. That was super, super fun.
Someone needs to grab Artur's reaction and post that on Twitter, man. It was great. It was really good. It was like,
Brutal.
We need some
we're gonna get-
clip monkeys. Let's get those going in the chat.
yeah. The
We're gonna
clip
get
monkeys, yeah.
Max and maybe Michael in just a second for another quick interview. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, what a finish. So that means, okay, looks like we have the final point standing. So Max will be getting third place, earning the team 6 points. So 14 points total for Team David. Amazing job. Michael finishing in fourth and earning 5 points. So along with Frank's, I think 2 points, that'll put them in 7 points. And I think a tie with team hashtag chess, aka Team Perlstein.
Sorry, what are the final totals here?
So 14 for Team David, 8 for Team Alex, and 7 for Team Nixons and Team Perlstein.
And I'd just like to remind everybody that from that very first day when we had the draft, I said Chess Games is real because of the glasses. And I saw some of his moves and his determination with the glasses, and I knew. And so I called Mitch and Chess Games, so I got second and third places in my private draft. I was not, coach, but that was my private draft right there.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and check the original power rankings.
I had Kimmy, I think, won every single week, and I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go to a break really quickly, and we'll be back with the players. All right, welcome back, everyone. So we're back with Max. Michael will be joining in a moment. And before we do anything else, Alex has to run. So we really want to thank him for, everything in this event. Obviously, there's been a lot of testaments to his work with the students here in the event and also to the VODs of his training. So you guys should go check those out and, of course, follow his Twitch channel and everything that he's doing here. Alex, any words before you have to run?
Well, first of all, just thanks to everyone involved with this, from Kostya, who invited me to participate, Jesse, who toughened me up with his occasional shots at poor old Mitch. But Sam, thank you so much for the hosting. And as for the co-coaches, I thought everyone was really excellent, and I just thought there were a lot of learning points. Whether it was Eugene with his Russian school approach, David, who seemed to offer a lot of great insight and practical advice to his players, and sort of savvy suggestions, and Artur's, who really blew me away with his all-round chess ability and his coaching ability and chess ability, of course, and tremendous passion. So I did take a look at some of your guys' streams, and there were incredible learning points as well as just listening in. So cheers to everyone, and cheers to the players, and of course to the viewers. So until next time, good luck to everyone in season 2.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
All right.
Have a good one.
Good evening. Bye.
Yeah, take care.
Cheers.
Max, so congratulations on victory there. The hardest fought finals match here, going to the Blitz tiebreak, going to the Armageddon there, playing, just back and forth with Michael in the match. What were your thoughts across the match? What were you feeling in terms of the ebb and flow of the match?
Yeah, so I thought, well, first of all, I thought that he was going to play the Sveshnikov. I thought that that's what he was saving for the final, since that's tended to be his main repertoire with Black. But then he did end up playing the French. But I thought that I started off okay up until that knight f4 move where I missed that bishop takes c3. That was just a slap in the face. And after that, I thought I was just probably lost. But then I managed to fight back, and then in time scramble, of course, I missed the knight fork. Typical. But yeah, after that, the second game was also very hard fought. Could have gone either way. Managed to just find some moves to send it to a nice endgame. And then the Blitz also was really tough. Yeah, I thought that I almost rescued the first game, but then missed that back rank idea. And then it just grinded. I mean, his opening choice in the second Blitz game was certainly interesting.
You hadn't prepared specifically for the slug?
Yeah, but...
Oh, you're speaking of the slug. Well, yeah, what did you guys think of that?
We loved it.
I don't want to look at artists right now. Man, yeah, I don't know, like, I've like got some good results against it, and like, when people like always play like g6, bishop g7, they don't like I mean, like, no one was expecting it, so you can get like okay positions against it, and I felt like I was fine out the opening. I just played incredibly slowly. Like, I think the first Blitz game, I forgot we were playing Blitz. I was like, I was down to a minute. I was like, wait, what is happening?
Yeah, I pointed out to the audience that we hadn't reached Armageddon yet. You had just given him that minute voluntarily.
Yeah. Yeah. My God.
Yeah, the second Blitz game was it was interesting. I thought that I had some way to kind of get in, because obviously it was kind of like White was in passive mode, but then I didn't, and then it felt like he was almost better, and then I just managed to get kind of finesse it in the end.
Yeah, with that knight versus bishop, I felt better.
Yeah, that was a really strong point.
Like, it was so silly. Yeah.
It was
Jesse, any Queen A8 comments?
Well, first, I just want to jump in here for a second. Max, do you have your glasses handy, like next to the board or anything like that? You can put us on, man? Because that would be... Yeah,
they're always on deck. They're always on deck.
Yeah, leave them on, man. Leave them on. No, that's great.
That's worth how many ELO
that's
points?
What I'm talking about. That's
third place glasses.
Yeah, those are nice glasses, man. I like it.
Oh, but what a match, though. Like, every game was so much fun.
Yeah, that was really exciting to watch. We've been asking this all the participants, guys. Maybe you could quickly give us your experience, how you enjoyed this competition, and maybe some advice you'd give for future students. Why don't we start with Michael? What would you say?
Well, I mean, I thought the event was amazing. Like, the whole, like, all the graphics and everything. It felt like, I was playing in like some St. Louis Rapid and Blitz, but stuff like that. So like that whole side of things, and also getting this opportunity to really meet, your top international masters, top grandmasters. That's once in a lifetime kind of thing. So like, yeah, I thought that side of things, like, awesome. Only criticism I'd have is that 6 weeks as a time frame, for me, it felt like extremely draining, where I would have to like somehow stay motivated for across all of these weeks. And there were times where I just completely felt burnt out. And I think I felt that from some of the other players or coaches. Like, I don't know, but like, yeah, maybe if it was on a shorter time scale, it might be more effective. But no, on the whole, like, I really liked all the events, and the whole playoffs at the end were like super fun. So yeah, lots of good words.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Shorter. I think we should make it longer. That was a blast. Yeah, I mean, all the coaches, I think, brought something interesting to the table. Great insights from everyone. Like, looking at the VOD yesterday, some amazing insights, like, to learn from as a player. And just working with David, that was also amazing. I mean, every week, me, Kimmy, and him just drilling different stuff. get all his experience. It was definitely a lot to learn from, and just kind of eye-opening to me, like as a player. I mean, obviously I knew I had certain weaknesses, certain aspects of my game that I need to work on, but definitely like more from a psychological perspective, definitely like opening my eyes to see that I am definitely like overconfident in a lot of situations, and that leads to me making certain mistakes. So that's something that I'll know now that I have to like actively address. But other than that, yeah, great show. And yeah, thanks, Sam. That was the quality was amazing throughout, and just you as a host, good job.
Thanks, Max. And shout out, of course, to Dylan for all the graphics. You guys are mentioning the graphics. Dylan did all that work. We shouted him out earlier.
And yeah, also I want to mention a Flying Sheep who helped with the layouts and the Twitch stuff. Very, very instrumental. They were in the chat earlier. Yeah.
I have one question for the coaches. Slug or Bong Cloud? Which is a better
Slug.
opening?
Slug, definitely.
Thank you.
One vote and some nods. Okay.
Just please don't do it ever again.
I'm glad I'm not in like close proximity to artists. I think like it's like me or something.
Fantastic. I think, Kostya, do you have any final comments that you'd like to add on the event, the upcoming season, future ChessDojo events, and maybe it's time to kind of draw this up into a close?
Thanks, Sam. Well, again, I'd like to thank all the participants and coaches again for really just putting in a huge effort throughout the season. This wouldn't have worked if not everyone was like fully into it. And I think everyone just did a fantastic job. Obviously, thanks Jesse and Sam for the streams and hosting. We mentioned Dylan of Flying Sheep for the layouts. Of course, the fans were super exciting as well, showing up with their emotes. It felt like we were able to bring a bunch of channels together, like Eugene's channel, Arthur's channel, hashtag Chess Lifestyle, and so that was just amazing to see all the collaboration. And it feels like people got better at chess. I mentioned this yesterday, but the games in the final compared to the initial tournament were like night and day difference. I mean, in terms of the quality, I think no one knew what to expect the first day, and by the final, it was like, we were actively surprised when you guys didn't find the GM move in the position. Like that's how it felt. So really, it was an incredible first season. We mentioned season 2 applications are open for players rated between 14 and 1600. We'll be looking to start that in the near future. And yeah, thanks to everyone who tuned in. Coming up next on Dojo, we'll be doing an interview with Greg Shahadi, talking about the U.S. Chess School and specifically how to develop talent in chess.
David has a correction, I think.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Our November action tournament's happening right now. So as soon as this show winds down, I will hit go live and be going over the ends of our November action tournament. Max has a bye this round. He didn't try and like simul the Ultimate Sensei.
Yeah, and a 90-minute game. Yeah,
but he'll be back. He'll be back next week for another 90-minute game. And there's 20 people playing their November tournament every Sunday here. So that's what's next on our show.
Gotcha.
But I have one point you brought up that I'd like to pass around to everybody maybe before we do the sign up, which is your point saying that you thought it looked like everybody had improved. I think that was one of the big questions about this event, was not like, which coach was going to coach better, which student was going to like do the best, but like, was it even possible to make noticeable improvement in 6 weeks, right? Given that people were still going to have their lives, it wasn't like we were on an island with just like 4 GMs and like a bunch of like students just like drilling for 10 hours a day. Like
maybe one day.
Is it possible? And we're not like, and the students aren't 10-year-old kids. Is it possible for people to make noticeable improvement in 6 weeks? And I'd like to hear what every single person other than Kostya has already answered that, what each of you all think about that if you saw improvement. And Max and Michael, you can also say, because you've played against these people, you sat across the board from the same people 6 weeks ago as today and yesterday, what you guys feel like if the level went up.
Yeah, I think there has been improvement from a lot of people. I think almost everyone improved in some aspect. I think there's some things that definitely take longer to address. like certain mistakes that I make that I know that I'll just have to like be drilling them over time and reminding myself like not to make them as I try to kind of like adjust. But I think, yeah, definitely the quality of games definitely went up.
Yeah, I think I definitely felt that too. Like, especially with my games against Kimmy yesterday, I felt like both of us had elevated to another level, and like, oh, it was just crazy. Like the games, and like, yeah, I just felt both of us were seeing more, and yeah, definitely a high level. I felt across the board for sure.
Yeah, everyone was so much sharper, I think, throughout. Like everyone that I played yesterday and today, I felt like was tactically so much more aware.
Apart from Queen F8.
Yeah, I mean, in time scramble, that all goes out the window.
Knight B3.
Yeah, Knight B3. I know. It's so bad. How long have I been playing this opening? Oh dear.
Well, Archers, then maybe you could share your thoughts in response to David's question.
What was the question again?
Did you see improvement across the course of the 6 weeks?
Yeah, definitely. I did see improvement, and I was very happy to see that Michael was a very hard-working student, and I did see a progress, and I liked his work ethic and attitude towards the entire show. And I was wishing also to do the same with Frank. Frank, like we mentioned it yesterday, he had some real life issues, so unfortunately we could not do everything we wanted. But I'm also happy for him that he managed to finish the tournament on a positive note. And actually, I quite second what Michael said about the format. It is draining, definitely. I mean, 6 weeks, because it takes away so much energy. So I would be looking towards to something which is shorter, slightly short, but perhaps slightly more concentrated. So that's also my thoughts, by the way.
Okay, good to hear.
And Eugene?
Yeah, going back to the format thing, it's really difficult for me to say because it feels like I've only opened up the potential of my students. I feel like there's so much more hidden under the surface that this is like not enough in the 6 week period, because we saw huge improvement for Rebecca and Jesse, both in their results as well as in the rankings by the coaches, right? By Jesse Cry, Kosti, and everyone. So I have a feeling like maybe if this continued longer, maybe they can even achieve more.
Jesse, what about your thoughts?
Well, right. It's a really interesting experiment, especially one that's important in this time when we can't play real tournaments. And I thought, to me, the most insightful thing was what David said about how the most important thing for him was that Kimmy and Max were able to work together, and that if you kept like a training partner, it becomes a lot more interesting and dynamic, right? Where you can train out certain positions and also to a certain extent kind of like both hold yourself accountable to the other person and have a hope that's not just your own about improvement. And I think that's especially now when it's so hard, you're not going out. If you had a chess friend before, you don't have that chess friend anymore, unless you're like living with them in London or wherever it is these guys are living in, right? Most of us are just like, I'm in a room. That's all I got. I'm just in some room. That's all I got. So I thought that was the cool and interesting thing out of it. And definitely it seems like some teams were able to work better than others even together.
Just for the record, Dylan is in Missouri right now, so we communicate via Skype, similar to like how ChessDojo has been going. But right. Yeah, it works well.
It felt like one of the things that maybe there was some improvement in across the course of the season was playing under pressure with so many people watching. In these tense matches, money's on the line, time trouble, Armageddon, and it seemed like across the course of the season that. Players were handling that better and also training more for the matches. Players mentioned near the end a lot of serious opening prep and things like that. So that seems to be one of the advantages that I thought I observed regarding the things that David's mentioning is you're in kind of a hyper-aware environment for 6 weeks, thinking very seriously about who your opponents are and what your coach is giving you as feedback, and hopefully picking up ways of approaching the game and training for different events. That will carry over into continued improvement. Sorry, David, you were saying something?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, I want to remind folks to make sure to follow all of the various coaches on their channels, as well as the students, Michael and Dylan. They're part of Chess Lifestyle YouTube channel. Max is known as Chess Gains on Twitch. Max, are you going to be streaming more? Do you have any plans for that?
I don't know if I'm not really super consistent with streaming right now, but I am planning to go back to making more YouTube content and like maybe reviewing some of my progress throughout this show and other stuff for myself and for other people to learn from.
Cool. So that's Chess Gains, and of course we had Kimmy Lou and Chess Coach Ned and hashtag Chess. Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here. Thanks to everyone again for participating and watching. This was a ton of fun. David will be right back with the November Action Tournament for the dojo. And then we got Dojo Talks with Greg Shahadi coming up at 2 p.m. Pacific. So that'll be fun as well. I think that'll do it. Thanks, everyone. This is awesome.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
if you guys, if you're ever interested in me making snide comments while you play, you can come to Sunday Night Fights. That'll start tonight after Dojo Talks.
Yeah, that's available.